All right, so here we are. We're doing it. This is something I've wanted to do for a really long time and put it off for a lot of reasons, really all the reasons and every excuse you can imagine. And then recently, I kind of went to the best place for life advice and inspiration, which is social media. And I saw something on a friend's Instagram. It was just like a really simple, pithy quote. But I don't know, for some odd reason, it resonated with me that day and led me to be here. I don't know where this will go, if this will see the light of day or we'll ever see another one after this, but I've wanted to investigate it for a while. Finally felt the urge and the kick to do it. So here we go. Basically what happened was when I jumped on Instagram, I saw a really quick story from a friend's Instagram. He's always posting inspirational, quote unquote, shit. I didn't want to swear a lot, but that's probably going to happen. He's always posting inspirational stuff, like just, I don't know, like all these like quotes of like, you know, go to bed at 1 a.m., wake up at midnight kind of thing. Before I wake up, I did 6 ice baths and a sauna and that kind of stuff. But I also really like it because there's pretty much everything that goes into his story is positive, even if could be times at trite. So I love seeing it. And he's somebody I look up to and admire, and he works a lot and hard, and he's always finding ways to make himself better and just for those around him as well. And he's super supportive of all his friends. So I super like seeing that stuff. Anyway, I saw this one on there, which it said something like, stop making lists and just do, or something like that. And being who I am, you know, I go down this rabbit hole of like, oh, I wonder how useful lists can be. And is there any research behind the productivity of to-do lists and that kind of stuff? I'm a chronic to-do lister, and I think to some extent it's really helpful. It helps me organize my thoughts, think about what I want to do. But I inevitably find myself with these lists always a little let down because there's a ton of stuff on that list that just kind of goes by, or, you know, kind of keeps making its way to another list, another list, another list. And that made me think, like, what if I just sort of picked the top thing off the list, erased the rest of the list, and just went at it and saw what happened, and just tried that for a little while. I think this is obviously going to resonate differently with different people and how much and what they have going on in their lives. I think things like shopping lists are still good. It's really hard to remember what you have in the grocery store, and if you go in without a plan, you just walk out with 2 cases of Pop-Tarts and 6 liters of soda and 5 frozen pizzas because they just look good at the time. And you won't buy a vegetable unless it's on a list. But as far as to-do lists, like I said, I kind of found myself, I don't know, always kicking the can down the road and had an ever-growing to-do list. I'd get stuff done off of it. I always knew what I had to do. But I think I've been spending maybe too much time thinking about that rather than doing, especially with like some bigger, I don't know, projects, something like this that fall outside of the regular routine of the same thing you've just been doing every day, and you already have that habit. So the first thing on that list there was like a project I had wanted to do, a photo project for some Christmas presents. And I had just been kicking it off. It was basically a calendar, everyday calendar for 365 days. And to kind of like comb through photos to fill out a 365-day calendar is pretty annoying. But after I saw this Instagram post, Stop Making Lists, Just Do, I was like, well, what if I just went downstairs, sat on the computer, and just did this job until it's done? And I know this seems like, I don't know, more run-of-the-mill self-help bullshit, and it's kind of is, but it's also not, because I sat down and finished the task and kind of went through the rest of the weekend and half of the week with that approach of, I'm going to start a task and take it to completion and then I'll just move on to the next task rather than like chipping away or just adding new things to a list. And I really haven't touched a list. I sound like I'm recovering. I haven't touched a list in about a week. And overall, I've kind of liked this approach. There's definitely things I'm forgetting. Probably work-related stuff. I still kind of make some lists there just as far as like what to do next from people. You get a lot of intake at work, especially at a desk job. But overall, I'm really glad I found that Instagram post. It led me to complete a ton of things that I had just been putting off. And it just comes down to this just start mentality, which I think is so hard, especially because we receive a lot of input from the rest of the world of like, you need to start with a plan and, have a big plan and break it down into a bunch of goals and then, measure your outcome and success. And are you still on track? And I keep coming back to this whole concept of there's just so much value in saying, hey, here's something I want to do, and I'm just going to go just take one hack at it and see what happens. I've always talked about this. If you've ever heard any other podcast I've been on, I've always talked about this in the realm of fitness. And this was something I learned a long time ago from a good friend of mine and somebody I competed with for years. And he would always say, we would go out to the gym and just do something. And he would always say, just do something. And I think there's a lot of value in that, especially when it comes to fitness, because there's a lot of reasons not to grow that habit or always find the perfect workout or the perfect thing that's going to cure all of your physical and health woes, or give you all the fitness in the world. So I had another event like this, I don't know, yesterday, 2 days ago, kind of at the computer all day, getting the woeies me's, feeling sorry for myself. And we have a 6 months old puppy, and I could tell she was also kind of antsy and just getting really annoying to call a spade a spade. And it was like, well, we'll do some treats. We'll distract you with a toy. And I wasn't getting anything done, and I was getting antsy and annoyed. And I was like, let's just go for a run. And it was totally imperfect, and had clothes on, and it was 1,000,000 degrees because it was cold out, but I was dressed up, with way too much to be running in it. And it was really sweaty. So all little stuff. I don't know. None of that really matters. I don't know why I told that story. Maybe just all to drive back to the point of, I do think there's a lot of value in maybe not having a bigger plan and just seeing this one thing I want to do and just going to do it. I guess that's why I'm doing this podcast. It's been on my mind and my list for a long time. So yeah, here we are. I guess one other thing I wanted to add on to that, I thought that might be a good place to stop, was I also saw a cool piece of advice, again, from the internet. Has just been hitting home runs lately for me, except for the comments. But I saw a post, I think it was from old Jeffy Bezos, the Amazon founder, and he said something to the extent of you only get stressed out over things you can control. And I think that was something that the list also was kind of just became a thorn in my mind, was because I would put things down on this list, to-dos, that were, I don't know, maybe that I didn't have a lot of business needing to do or were outside of my control. And if you kind of toss the list away, I do feel like this is terrible advice for parents, because I feel like the gym I coach at has everyone, there's something in the water there. I feel like everyone either is currently pregnant or has a bazillion kids. But they always seem super busy, and they always seem like they're forgetting things. Maybe they need lists. But when it comes to being stressed out or anxious, and that really being focused on things you can or being tied to only things you can control, I thought that was really interesting too, because the more I thought about that advice and I kind of looked at what am I stressed out day to day by, or feel like I'm stressed out, it was a lot of those things. And again, I think kind of kicking the list, getting rid of the list and just focusing on one thing at a time. One, it's because you think about the things you want to do most, it prioritized things immediately for me. I couldn't remember all of the small shit on the list that I didn't really want to do that was on the list. So I forgot about that. And it really helped me focus on the task, and I felt a whole lot stressed out. I thought that was cool. And that led me to saying, hey, you wanted to start a podcast solo for a long time. I have a lot of thoughts of where it could lead, but I don't know where it'll go. So that's all I had to share today, and that's really it. So anybody's out there, thanks for listening. That's kind of the road so far. Maybe see you again.